Looks a little slow. I don't know if it's, there we go. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Chris Brown, your state senator, and I want to welcome you today for our most recent coronavirus update. I hope all of you are doing well. As you know, I join you each week because I believe it's important that we get to you as much information as possible during these challenging times. After 80 days, 50 executive orders, the stay-at-home order has been lifted. Thank all of you for abiding by the rules, protecting one another, loving one another, and flattening that curve. Thanks to you, the stay-at-home order is no more. So at this point, if you know anybody who may benefit from the information we're going to give today, basically anybody who's a resident of Atlantic County, please click the Go Live button on your Facebook page so that way it will be shared. I also want to thank Scott Cronick and AC Mike Lopez from WOND who have been replaying these conversations on their shows. Big shout out and thank you to WOND for being live and local. I also want to thank all of you know how hard we've been working to help our families navigate this unemployment disaster. And I have been fortunate in my office to have volunteers who heed the call and have come and helped us. We train them up on the unemployment issues, and they help all of you work your way through that horrible system. And so I want to give a special thank you to Hope Sedgwick, Carol Monday, Jim Toto, your councilman in Summers Point, and John Farinelli, whose father, by the way, happens to be an excellent electrician. These are volunteers who are helping us help you. So thank you to them. And if anybody else out there would like to help and volunteer some time, you may call us at 609 677 8266. After my conversation with our guest today, I'm going to provide some additional updates, so please feel free to stay tuned. So here we are. We're very fortunate today to have someone I consider a friend I've known a long time. My guest, Atlantic City NAACP President and Third Ward Councilman Kaleem Shabazz. And he's going to talk with us and help us discuss not just the recent protests, but as well the reopening of Atlantic City as we get closer to the July 4th weekend. Is it all right if I call you Kaleem, or should I go with Councilman Shabazz or Mr. President, or?
Chris Brown, I am happy with Kaleem, especially with you. I deem that an honor and our friendship relationship that goes over many years, as you just indicated.
Well, you're the best. Kaleem, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And first and foremost, how are you and your family doing?
Everybody is doing very well, Chris. Thank you. I feel very fortunate. I am the proud grandson, grandfather, rather, my grandson, who just graduated from Rutgers with a master's in public health administration. I am duly proud of him. And if you remember, way back in 2013, you gave him a scholarship from your father's scholarship fund, and I appreciate that. He appreciates it, and it was a help as he went through Rutgers undergrad, and then he stayed at Rutgers and did his master's work. And he's a graduate, and I'm very proud of him. Also, let me say, so I don't get in trouble at home, I'm proud of my other grandson who's now at Seton Hall pursuing a master's in education administration. Wow. So I'm very proud for those young men. And I told my grandson to graduate from Rutgers that he exceeded his grandfather, because I was at Rutgers, but I was not the student that he was. He was an excellent student, and I'm looking forward to great things for him. And everybody is doing good. Thank you for asking, Chris, and I hope all listeners are doing well, too, through this trying, challenging time that we're living through.
Well, that's excellent. I am an alumni of the great University of Rutgers, and I have children there as well, and I know you are, and we're blessed to have Rutgers right here in our backyard. So that is awesome news. But presently, as Atlantic City's in the process of getting ready to open even more fully, we're also dealing with the tragic death of George Floyd and how the ripple effects are affecting not just people throughout the country, but of course us here in Atlantic County. I know, so you have several hats, not just a father, grandfather, but a councilman and president of the NAACP. From the perspective as the president of the NAACP, can you share with us the intent and the purpose of the peaceful? And I emphasize the word peaceful because I know it's everyone's intent to have a peaceful one. Uh, the intent and purpose of the peaceful protests organized in Atlantic City.
Thank you so much for that question, Chris. I really appreciate that because that's an important question. Without sounding too dramatic, I believe that we in America are at a turning point in our society. I'm just finishing a letter I'm sending off to the press, the voice of the people. Hopefully, I'll do it as a column in my position as the president of the NAACP speaking to George Floyd. I don't see how anyone, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of their religious belief or non-belief, regardless of their creed or their preference or any kind of affiliation. I don't see how any human being can look at that video and watch the life being taken out of Mr. Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds and not feel sympathy, empathy, and a connection with a fellow human being. And even taking it to the extreme, if Mr. Floyd was guilty of what they said about passing the $20 bill, even if that was the case, which we don't know, to have a police officer put his knee on the man's neck as the man, a human being, is begging for mercy, still calling him sir, while this man is applying pressure to choke the life out of this man as he cries for his mother, as people around it are saying, get off the man, you're going to kill him. And still he persisted for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. I would say and suggest that that is a American tragedy. That's something that should never, ever happen to any human being. And Chris, I think what is resonate with so many people across the spectrum of our country is the fact that it was so inhuman, it was so callous, it was so blatant, it was so cruel. And then people who understand our history in America know this has been the history of us in America. When I say us, I mean all of us, people of color and people not of color. We had over 400 years of chattel slavery. Then we had over 200 years of enforced segregation. We had over 5,000 lynchings here in America that people were not prosecuted for. And am I saying that everybody thinks like that? No, thank God, no. But too deeply embedded in our DNA is the fact that Black lives don't matter and that Black lives are less than human. I won't take up your time with the scientific theories that were advanced just a little over 50 years ago.
Well, let me tell you something. This is your time. I mean, we brought you on, so don't it's your opportunity to educate us and say as much as you like about your opinion on the intent and the purposes of the peaceful protest.
Okay, all of this is a background of the peaceful protest. Let me also take this time, Chris, to announce this. The NAACP in Atlantic City, we're putting together a Juneteenth celebration. Juneteenth is the time that people across the country celebrate when the Emancipation Proclamation was written, and it took time for people to get it and announce that the slaves were free. It's going to be a locally led demonstration. It's going to be in cars. Everybody's going to stay in their car. We're going to highlight Black Lives Matter, and we're going to highlight George Floyd and the celebration of Juneteenth, and you'll be hearing more about that. The peaceful protests are because people want to say that we have to treat people equally, that we have to have policing that respects humanity, that we have to have equality of and respect for every human being. That's what the peaceful protest is about. Unfortunately, there are some people who, for whatever reasons, would want to take advantage of the situation and do destructive things. And for the record, the NAACP, Chris, as you know, because you are involved and have been involved and you're a life member, the NAACP is adamantly, unequivocally against violence, adamantly against anyone who would destroy anyone's property for any reason.
No,
And
that,
we
yeah,
on that.
I'm sorry. I think it's important that everyone understands each other and that we have this conversation, because a lot of times when people hear Black Lives Matter, they take it perhaps as other lives don't matter as much. And I have always believed that all it's trying to say is that Black Lives Matter, just what it's saying. And
it's as simple as that. Black Lives Matter.
right.
And I would suggest that people read the 1619 Project. It's a project put together by New York Times that will give some of the history of us in America. And not to cut you off, Chris, but if people read our history in America, first of all, they would be astonished at the things that African Americans have had to endure and how cruel and inhuman that was. And just the Tuskegee experiment, very quickly. The Tuskegee experiment was an experiment that was done on African American men where they were injected with syphilis and not told and not treated. That happened under the aegis and observation and control of the American government. That happened. That's not a fantasy. And that was only a short 60 years ago, the Tuskegee experiment. So these are some of the things when people say Black Lives Matter, people believe, and when I say people, across the board, that if they were not Black, this wouldn't have happened.
So one of the points, and what I believe is beneficial and important to have this dialogue, is that people understand that, as you said, sometimes there's misinterpretation of things. The representation, and we'll speak, if I can, if I say anything out of line, you'll tell me. For Atlantic City and Atlantic County, when we talk about the NAACP and its obvious support, as it should, for Black Lives Matter, which just is that, Black Lives Matter, does not condone violence, does not want to see anybody do anything to hurt anybody else's property. The people who are behind the peaceful protest are saying, we want to work in harmony with the police department. We want to make the police department better. We want to make sure that people are aware of the injustices that have been going on. And if we don't speak up, then nobody will speak up. And so we're here to peacefully remind everybody that Black lives do matter. And those goals dovetail, coincide, fit straight together. And I don't care, Republican, Democrat, Independent, anybody who couldn't agree with a peaceful protest about making sure a group of Americans are recognized and treated fairly, properly, and we acknowledge that there are times where they're not. And the organizers, and I'm just talking for Atlantic County and Atlantic City right now,
Absolutely.
Are saying, don't come if you want to be violent. Don't come if you want to hurt property. Come to be heard. Come to speak your mind. Come to join together and create even a better movement. And again, I really want to point that out, that the leaders of the movement and local leaders are 100% behind Black Lives Matter. And at the same time, what they're saying is we're not behind vandalism, aggression, hatred, and hate speech, or the whole gamut. It's about love and making a change. Is that fair?
Let me go further than that. That's absolutely fair. Let me just name 3 people who are affiliated with the NAACP in Atlantic City. Chief Henry White is not only affiliated with NAACP, he is an executive board member. I am sure that everyone in your Facebook audience and their friends in Atlantic City and area recognize the name of Chief Henry White. He is the chief of the Atlantic City Police Department. He is an executive board member of the Atlantic City NAACP. Michael Johnson, people might not know that name, but Michael Johnson is a war veteran. He is a member of the executive committee of the NAACP. Reverend Stafford Miller, whose name is he's a newcomer to Atlantic City. He's our chaplain. He is the associate pastor of Asbury United Methodist Church in Atlantic City. I'm saying that to say, now I'm not going to name all the people on the executive committee. We don't have time for that. But I'm saying that to give people a sample of what the NAACP in Atlantic City and Atlantic County stands for. We have the chief of police in Atlantic City. I think Atlantic City has the largest force, and correct me if I'm wrong, largest number of people, Chris, in the police department in Atlantic County. I believe that's the fact. Atlantic City has the largest force.
So.
As I said, Chief White is our chief, and Michael Johnson is a veteran. We have several other veterans who are members. The NAACP is an organization that believes in civil rights and social justice, and you'll see a difference in the activities that we sponsor. When we sponsor an activity, the NAACP, it is peaceful, it is focused, it is nonviolent, and the goals and objectives are clear. And we work in concert with the police when we do an activity to make sure that everything is correct as far as safety is concerned, as far as not interfering with public safety. And that's how the NAACP operates. We are a national organization. We are 110 years old. And the NAACP was founded, by the way, as a response to lynching in America 110 years ago. So when people hear who's sponsoring the thing and they say it's NAACP in Atlantic City or Atlantic County, they can believe and understand that it's peaceful, it's focused, it's nonviolent, and they can join in. We would ask them to join in if they are available. That's what we do in the NAACP. That's our brand. That's our practice. That's our history. That's our protocol.
Well, one of the things that seemed obvious to me and was pointed out by Mayor Small, who certainly, from my perspective, did an excellent job of trying to make sure that we allow peaceful protests, and that when it doesn't work out and there are those who are trying to vandalize or just do bad things, hijack what is otherwise a great event, he stood up. And one of the things that
and Chris, just for the record, so everybody knows, Mayor Small is also a member of the NAACP in Atlantic City, as is his wife, Dr. Small, who is the principal of Atlantic City High School, as are several members of the Atlantic City City Council. Councilman Randolph, just to name one, former Mayor Langford, to name another, who's not on the council, but is a former mayor. They are members of the Atlantic City NAACP.
Yes, and as a leader, one of the things that Mayor Small said at the cleanup rally, which I thought was well organized and sent a great message, was pointing out that there were people from out of our county, for the most part, and I believe this, and the numbers demonstrated, people outside of our county, agitators, others who just saw an opportunity to create chaos, showed up into our great city and into our county. And one of the things that Mayor Small pointed out, and I think it's important, and if you agree, that would be great, but we talked about Chief White a little. I agree with Mayor Small 100% when he says he stands behind the Atlantic City Police Department. I agree with Mayor Small 100% when he stands behind the Atlantic City Fire Department. These are men and women who put themselves in harm's way to protect us, as they did the other day when things went wrong. Is there a perfect organization anywhere? No. But I agree with Mayor Small when he says that. And I think Chief White is doing a fantastic job of more of a community policing. And I just wanted to see what your thoughts might be about that.
Chris, I agree with you 110%. And I would suggest, respectfully, I guess I'm biased because Chief White's on the executive committee, and he's
That's right.
but I would suggest that what Chief White has been doing over the last couple of years can be a model for what police should be doing. He has, in my mind, and I remember before I got on city council, I used to watch city council meetings on TV. And I can remember when people were lined up from the gate that goes before the dais in the city council chambers to the back of the city council chambers, complaining about alleged police misconduct and brutality and the misuse of the canine dogs. In fact, it got so bad at one point that then Mayor Langford took the canine dogs out of commission, took them off the street. Now, obviously before the virus, since I've been on council 4 years, going on 5, we have no complaints of police misconduct, no complaints about the misuse of the dogs. Is everything 100%? Like you said, no. But you can see where Chief White is making demonstrable progress with the cooperation and the involvement with the police and the community. And that's to be commended and built upon. I mean, I don't think we're resting upon our laurels saying we shouldn't do any more in Atlantic City. We can do more, and we will do more, and we should do more. But Chief White is a catalyst for good. He's turned the culture around in Atlantic City with the police and the community, and he shows that it can be done. And I think that in the future, you're going to only see more progress.
Well, I think that's excellent. And part of the dialogue is to show to everybody who's listening, I don't care what your political background is, what your socioeconomic background is, what color you are, what religion you are. We all agree on these basic principles, that every life is sacred, that every person is valuable, that we should do everything we can to love each other and make our lives here while we're on this planet, which is short anyway, as nice and as good as we can for each other. And that while we all agree with peaceful protests, I mean, you can't be an American and not agree with the right to assemble, to air your grievances peacefully. I mean, that's what brought us here, and that's one of the cornerstones. And but by the same token, we all come back together and we say, listen, we support good police officers. We support, we can only speak for our local. We support our local police officers. We support our local firemen and women who, all of them combined, have been putting themselves in harm's way for us. And we just want it to be better. And when we can keep it at that, and don't let the national level and some of the rhetoric that sometimes on both sides can heat it and make it more, I really think people could come together and would be less divisive. I mean, right now you got a white Republican talking with an African American Democrat, and people don't realize it, but there are some policy things that we may disagree upon, but 99% or much more of the things we agree upon than we disagree. But and I think that just holds throughout society. And if people just talk to each other more and had these kind of conversations more, they would look at each other in a little bit of surprise, realizing, wow, we actually agree on all the same things. So I thank you for being here today, and I think that's part of the importance of this conversation.
I appreciate the opportunity to you and your family. I hope you're safe and healthy going forward, and also your listeners. And I go back to my opening statement. Humanity is what this is all about. I agree with what you are saying about the differences are outweighed by our commonalities in our humanity. And I say again that anyone who watches a man being suffocated for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and that doesn't touch your humanity, then I think you need to check yourself. That's a human issue. And my hope and prayer, Chris, is that there are no more George Floyds in America, that we start to treat each other as human beings, that we value the worth of everyone. That's why we're saying in 2020, I wish we didn't have to say Black Lives Matter, believe me. It pains me to say in 2020, in the richest, greatest country in the world in terms of resources and advancements, that we have to say that Black Lives Matter. I don't take any pleasure in that. I don't think that I'm throwing a barb at somebody. I wish that we didn't have to say it. I wish that it didn't exist. I wish that that wasn't the case. I wish that people who saw the police who are African Americans would feel that the police are there to serve and protect them. I wish that people were not timid and apprehensive African American men. You talk to African American men, I don't care, from 17 to 75, and the general impression is that they have to deal with the police and be afraid. And you talk to African American parents, and Chris, you talk to people across the board. Right. They will tell you, African American parents and grandparents, that they have to instruct their young men to be extra careful and solicitous of police when they stop, to put their hands in sight, to make sure they don't make what could be deemed an aggressive move. That's not a way to live in the country. I wish that didn't exist. That's my hope. I wish we come to a time where everybody will be treated with equality. And that's what the NAACP is working for. It's a long-term goal. We realize it's not going to happen overnight, but we're working for justice and equality, civil rights, social justice for all people. That's what the NAACP is about, and that's what we're dedicated to.
Well, I thank you for that. And I just have a couple, if we could change gears a little bit and talk to you as a Councilman Shabazz. And personally, I've mentioned before that I wanted to see Atlantic County open a little sooner. I had been in touch with the CEOs of Atlantic Care as well as Shore Memorial, making sure that we have enough beds, enough ICU units, making sure we have enough ventilators, PPE, doctors, nurses. And when we hit the point where we were assured, which we still are, assured that we do, and if there was any spike, because we have to put health first. And by putting health first, it is checking with the professionals. The hospitals would not be overwhelmed. And then, of course, we flatten the curve. And South Jersey is different than North Jersey, our economy for one, and for two, God was fortunate that we did not have the same impact with the coronavirus as they did in the North. But that being said, last week I spoke with President Sweeney, and he said he's very anxious, as am I, for our casinos to open. Do you have any updates or anything you want to add or thoughts on the casinos and the opening?
Let me say this. I would like to see the casinos be open. Many of my constituents work in the casinos. Some of them are vendors for the casinos. Some of them have businesses that depend on the casinos. So again, my ideal wish was they would be open yesterday. But the reality of it, I support Governor Murphy's cautious stand, and I know that's against some of our elected leaders in South Jersey and some of our business leaders, and I appreciate that. But let me say that I think that public health comes first, that if we have to err on the side of public health, I would prefer that. I wish no people were out of work. I get that. Severe hardship, closing the economy down. But I would say that I think it's worth it. I think we sort of weathered the storm. And let me just say this, Chris, this virus is not over. Every public health expert says that we're going to have a return of this in the fall or the winter. And let me throw my NAACP hat again. When something like this affects the general public, people who are in communities of color are affected in a disparate way. The governor talked about that the other day, how there's almost 12,000 people in New Jersey, and we mourn everyone, every family. But within that number, there's a disproportionate number of African Americans. I am concerned when the casinos open that many people of color are people on the front lines who are going to be exposed in a highly possible dangerous way in jobs. But I still say that. I balance that on the fact we need to open the casinos. I don't want to step on the governor's toes, and I won't, but I think you're going to be hearing an announcement in the next couple of weeks that you will be pleased with, Senator Chris. I think that before the 4th of July, this is not a prediction, this is a hope, and this is not an official announcement. Let me say that. I am an elected official, but I'm not a state elected official, and the governor speaks for itself. But I think that we'll be open for the 4th of July.
Well, this is a great example for people to see how we can agree on a lot of things, and then when we disagree, we agree to disagree, and just certain aspects. I agree with you that public health has to be first. I agree with you that the initial steps of the governor in shutting us down and flattening the curve were correct. I don't agree putting saying if you have coronavirus, allowing them back into a senior place was a good idea. And I don't.
That was a mistake. That was a
Yeah,
mistake, Rich, and hopefully
I
we will be able to deal with that if and when it comes back in the fall and winter, because the people are still going to be in the nursing homes, and we have to have a policy that doesn't let that happen again.
yes, yes. And with our economy, I believe that he should have made the announcement 2 weeks ago about whatever his plan may be. And as I said, uh, the CEOs of our hospitals are saying they have enough beds, they have enough ICU beds, they have enough ventilators, they have enough PPE, they are prepared if there were a spike. And when you talk about frontline workers, nobody has fought harder or more concerned for the frontline workers of the casino industry than I have been, just to make sure they have jobs and that they're able to keep North Jersey casinos away. But that being said, one of the things that I was very pleased, as I know, the casinos reached out to Local 54, and that was a combination of not just, hey, let's let big business open up and make a buck off the backs of these working families, the people who clean the toilets and make the beds. Let's let them eat cake or expose them to harm so we can make a buck. They worked hand in hand with the union to make sure that every person was protected under the CDC guidelines. And knowing that, and knowing that we were in a position that we could handle a spike, and knowing that there's the same mental health problems and other issues if you lock people up and don't give them a valid reason why you're locking them up, and you take away their livelihoods, and then you run the unemployment as though it's a complete debacle, uh, and they don't get money for 10 weeks. Yeah, I think this is where we respectfully disagree, but I think the governor has failed miserably on that end of it. And I believe he shouldn't wait 2 weeks.
Chris, we don't disagree on the unemployment.
Okay.
I have
Okay.
calling me. They can't get paid. They
Right.
can't get through. No, no. You're not going to. I mean, we're talking, but
Yeah.
and it's the dialogue. But no,
Yes.
sir, I am not for the way that the unemployment has been implemented. I have several of my constituents who have applied. They're on. I just had talked to a lady right before I called you.
Yeah.
Who said she has called 27 times and she still cannot get her money.
Well,
here's what
I
want. We're on the same page.
Here's what I want to say to you and any of your constituents or anybody. But this is for you, Kaleem. We have trained our staff, and we have handled literally thousands now. And one of the thoughts that I have is that there are people like your constituent. And what is her name or his name?
I don't want to give her name.
Okay, no, fair enough.
But I'll give you your name.
No,
I don't have a permission to use her name, Chris, and I wouldn't want to do that.
no, I agree. I spoke out of turn.
That's okay.
But my point was I wanted to humanize. I didn't want to just call the human being a constituent.
Well, that's the only reason I said that, because I didn't, like I said, I didn't have her permission to use her name. But and she's just emblematic. There's millions of people. She's not the only one. The system, if she was the only one, that would be unfortunate for her, but that wouldn't be a systemic problem. All up and down this state, there are people who have the same problem.
Yes.
That's my concern, the systemic concern, and you're right. The state has bungled that, botched that, whatever word that we can use in polite company for the nursing home. Here's my philosophy. Regardless of party, Chris, if it's right, I'm for it. If it's wrong, I am not for it.
Beautiful.
Regardless of party.
Beautiful. And I can vouch, for years, watching and listening to you and seeing your leadership and calm, cool, and collected, and always putting people first, always looking for better ways to do things that are more efficient, and just really helping people is what I've observed, Kaleem, with your private and public demeanor. And so I apologize. Sometimes I work myself up into a lather, and I get.
And you're right, Chris. You are a good
But
representative of your constituents, which
Right.
I am one, and I appreciate it. But I just wanted to be
Yeah.
clear. Just because I support the governor, and I do, I'm
Right.
a Democrat, but I don't support things that are not correct. And,
Right.
and let's get it clear. The governor, I don't think. In fact, I'm sure he doesn't want the unemployment system not to
No.
work. In fact, it would be better for him politically if it did work.
Right.
The same thing with
Right.
the nursing home. So no, it's not intentional,
No.
but still, it has to be improved.
Yeah.
People can be waiting weeks and months on end without a paycheck. The average person can't go more than a couple of paychecks without being in serious
Right.
financial problems.
They
So
say-
no, I get it,
yeah.
and I am not for it when it's not right. The unemployment thing is not even near right.
Right.
And same thing with the nursing home thing is not near right. But overall, on balance, I think the governor should get good grades for handling a very bad situation. In fact, if everybody had their druthers, I don't believe there's anyone in this country that would want us to have this virus or go through this, no matter what political party they're in. I don't believe that. I could be naive, Chris, but I don't believe that there's an elected official in this country at the federal, state, county, or local level that wishes that we had this, and if they could, would erase it from our history.
Well, I always try to avoid. I agree with your premise, and I always try. What I talk about is what I know. I know you, and I know you don't, and I know that you've done everything you can to ease everybody's pain and get us through this. And I'm talking to you, and I think in our conversation, what's important is that people see two people with different parties and who agree over and over again, and that so many of our issues and the divisiveness comes from I believe anyway, a national media, a mischaracterization of people, and so I think this is nice for people to see, getting, just agreeing and having a normal conversation. And these are the kind of conversations that I've been having with you for years, and just they haven't been public, with this. So I think it's wonderful. I don't want to take all your time. We've talked. Yes, sir. Yeah.
It's a pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity to dialogue with you. Like I said, this is just the public is just hearing the way that we have been talking, and hope for many more years. We've been talking like this for many years. Now the public hears how we've been talking and how we interact.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I really do. I think it's a good thing. I say this quite often, but I really, when you think about it, our time on this planet is short. And if you're lucky enough to live a long, healthy life, it still goes in a blink of an eye. And our goal should be to get to heaven, regardless of what religion brings you there, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, whatever your beliefs are. Your goal on all three is to get to a better place. And the only way you get there is by doing the right thing and being kind to one another and loving, whether it's the Quran, the Torah, or the Gospels. And so if we as elected officials would treat each other the same way as I believe you have treated me that way, and I've always tried to treat you that way and everybody that way, wouldn't that be wouldn't that be a nice thing? Holy cow.
Well, Reverend Brown, that's what we are trying to do.
That's right. Oh boy. Okay. So thank you. Is there anything else you would like to say as we wind down our conversation?
First of all, let me say thank you. Secondly, let me say that what we're going to strive for in this summer in Atlantic City, and I'll be keeping you abreast, Chris. We're going to strive to have several activities. In fact, I'm glad about the police thing. Real quick, we're going to have a virtual town hall dealing with police community relations in Atlantic City. We want to focus on the Atlantic City issues, and we're going to have the chief and the prosecutor involved. I'll let you know about that. It's probably going to be virtual, so I'd like you to sit in on it if you can, if your schedule permits. And we're going to be doing other things over the summer. We're going to have a session on race, which is a difficult topic anytime for us in America, but I think it's something that we need to tackle in a respectful, dignified way. And we're going to be doing a lot of summer activities, and I'll keep your audience and yourself available. I just want to say Atlantic City is on the upswing. I believe that with every fiber of my body. I also believe that Atlantic City will be open July 4th, and we all realize, or we should realize, that it's not going to be like it was before because of the virus, but I think we will be open, and Atlantic City is ready to open. Mayor Small announced the policy about people having containers on the boardwalk and drinking. I think that's a policy that a lot of people have been pushing for, and it just shows that the mayor and the council are business friendly, and we're open to people coming and enjoying themselves in a respectful, lawful way. And we're working. We're going to have some announcements. I'll make sure that you know about Chris working with business people to do some innovative and creative things in Atlantic City to enhance people coming and enjoying themselves. We're working on some things now that hopefully we'll be announcing very shortly that utilizes spaces that we have available for people. And that's what we want to do. We want to make Atlantic City better. We want to make the experience better when people come to visit, and we want to make the whole area better with people working together in harmony.
Well, I've watched you and the leadership work towards that. I thank you for your dedication and for everything you're doing, both within the NAACP, or I think I'm supposed to say NAACP now.
Either way,
It's still okay?
Double ACP, whichever one.
All right. I think it was...
You have the ability to say whatever you want to say with it.
I know, but I do want to get it right. But I thank you for that, and also thank you for your leadership, and appreciate the dialogue, and I hope you and your family have a blessed day.
Chris, I wish the same for you and your family and all of your listeners.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Bye-bye. Bye. Well, now what we try to do each week is talk about updates on what's going on. And I know that so many of you, like Pamela Spencer, have written to us and talked to us and emailed us. And we're close to 2,000 active cases right now. And we're pushing as hard as we can. And just last week, once again, spoke with the commissioner of the Department of Labor, and he has gotten us back answers. But unfortunately, as you can imagine, and those of you who are dealing with us, some of the answers don't make any sense, so we have to go back. But I want you to understand that we here in this office are working 6 days a week, not 12 hours on Saturday, but 12 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Just trying to email, phone calls, talk to you, work you through your unemployment. We feel it, we understand, and if anything, it's as important to us that you see that we care, that we are trying to do everything we can to succeed on your behalf, but also with the understanding that we are up against the administration, a failed bureaucracy, and something that is a challenge every day that we get up and we come in and try to help you with your unemployment claims. One update is last week, the Department of Labor said families who are currently receiving low payments will have regular payments restored by the end of this week. Now, the department said that they have been delayed, and as usual, they never fail to disappoint. But we will keep on top of them for you and keep working to make sure we can get you what you're entitled to. I mean, the government came in, they shut you down, they told you you can't go to work, and your employers had been paying into unemployment. And they told you that you were going to, so you could survive, and then they don't make the payments for 10 weeks, or they underpay you, or they pay you now, but they don't pay you later. It is very disheartening and frustrating, and we're together and working uh, to make that change. While the governor has rescinded his stay-at-home order, we still have to open our casinos. One out of every 3 families in Atlantic County are out of work due to the government directive. And although they've submitted responsible plans, Governor Murphy still hasn't given his plan. Now, here's the problem with that. Fine, we do anticipate before July 4th he's going to give a plan. But if you had a plan, we need to know it now, because all of us in the elected area, but also more importantly, the executives, their marketing team, the families who live in Atlantic County, the casino workers need to know what the plan is. Okay, if it is before July 4th, tell us when, tell us how. Don't keep it a secret. It's not, you're not elected king or emperor. You're simply a representative of the people. And certainly transparency should be part of what you do. And with transparency, it's the simplest thing. Hey, here's my plan, and here's the logic behind it. You don't keep it a secret because you know better. You think that somehow if I share the truth with families, there'll be a problem. This has been a very frustrating time with some of the things that we're seeing go on. So I thank you all for joining me today. If you found this information useful, or you know someone who may, please go ahead and share it. If you have any questions whatsoever, unemployment, whatever it may be, we're here to help. You can call my office at 609-677-8266, or email me at senchrissabrown@njledge.org. And remember, while we're helping you with your unemployment, please unblock your phones. Please take those phone calls, because it very well could be the Department of Labor. I'm going to continue to do my best to keep updating you each week. Hopefully one of these days I will get a haircut and we'll look a little more presentable. But in the meantime, God bless you. Stay well, stay safe, and we're getting close, everybody. We're getting close. Thank you.